Hi again. We're doing factoring of trinomials now. So when do you use it? When there are three terms. Try three. Okay. So here's our first example. And what you want to do is you want to take the first coefficient, the leading coefficient, times the constant, the last number. So we're not talking about the x squared, we're talking about the number in front of x squared. And if there's nothing there, hopefully you know that that's like an invisible 1. So we want to multiply them together. So I'm doing 1 times 70, and I'm putting that up here. Okay. And the middle number, the middle term coefficient, is negative 17. That goes down here. So hopefully when we did the starter the other day about these little X puzzles, you understood that you want to figure out two numbers that multiply to the top but add up to the bottom. So in our case, what multiplies to 70 but adds up to negative 17? So again, this is another place where your multiplication facts are going to help you. If you don't know, start listing all the pairs that make 70 off to the side. So as an example, I have 1 and 70, I have 2 and 35. 3 doesn't go into 70 evenly, 4 doesn't go in evenly, 5 goes in evenly. It's 14. 6 doesn't go in evenly, but 7 goes in evenly, and it's 10. 8, 9, and then you start repeating again. So which of those could make 17? Well, this one could make 17, but we have to be careful about our signs. So in order to multiply to a positive, they either both need to be positive or they both need to be negative. And in this case, in order to add up to a negative, they're both going to be negative. So I'll have negative 7 here and negative 10 here. So these are the two numbers I'm going to use to help me solve this problem. What I'm going to do now is, sometimes they refer to it as splitting the middle term. Basically, I'm expanding it. My first term is going to stay the way it is, 1x squared. My middle term, instead of having negative 17x, I'm going to rewrite it as two different terms, negative 7x and negative 10x. And then your last term just stays the way it is. So just to recap, first term stays the way it is, last term stays the way it was, but the middle term gets split using the numbers you came up with in your X puzzle. Now, notice I haven't changed this problem at all. Really, all I've done is I've taken this middle one and I've split it. But as soon as I do that, this now has 4 terms. Well, just the last lesson, you learned that if you have 4 terms, you can factor by grouping. So that's what you need to do. From here on out, this is the same lesson we did the other day. These two, what do they have in common? It's x. You're left with x minus 7. These two, they have 10 in common, but also there's a negative in front. So remember, you have to take out a negative 10. So when you do that, negative divided by negative leaves you with positive x. And then positive 70 divided by negative 10 gives you that negative 7 that you're looking for. X minus 7. And then you have x minus 10. And if we multiply this back out using distribution, we'll end up back here. All right, so let's see some more examples. So let's say I have negative 9x squared minus 16x plus 4. Remember, I mentioned the other day, if you ever have a negative in front, you might want to pull that out from the beginning. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to think of this as a negative 1 common factor. And when I do that, it's just going to change all the signs. So this will become negative 4. From there, I'm going to multiply my first and last numbers, coefficients. 9 times negative 4 is going to give me negative 36. So what multiplies to negative 36 but adds up to positive 16? Okay. So again, if you know this right away, great, go for it, write it down. If not, start listing all your options. 1 and 36, 2 and 18, 3 and 12, 4 and 9, 6 and 6. Okay, those are all the options. So which one of those could make 16 when you add them or subtract them? And so it's probably going to be this 2 and 18, but I need to be careful about my signs. I need it to multiply to a negative, so one of them has to be negative, and I need them to add up to a positive, which means I need more positives than negatives. So I'm going to have positive 18 and negative 2. And you can write those in any order. You might be thinking, well, what if I put the negative 2 first? Fine, the final answer will be the same, okay? So don't stress. All right, so this negative, remember I said before, if you pull out a common factor, it just kind of hangs out. It'll be part of your final answer. As for this one, I am going to write the first term the way it is, and then in the middle, I'm going to use these two numbers. So I've got 18x minus 2x, and then the minus 4 stays the same. And I'm going to factor by grouping. So what do these two have in common? Well, they both have 9 and x, so that'll leave me with x plus 2. These two both divide by 2, and it needs to be negative because there's a negative in front. So you're left with x plus 2 in when you divide. Negative divided by negative gives you positive. Okay. All right, x plus 2 is common to both. And then you have 9x minus 2 as your other factor. And notice that I've got my negative here from the beginning, and this is your final answer, all 3 parts. All right, number 3. Let's try this one, 9x squared plus 2x minus 10. All right, so first thing, does it have any common factors? No. Okay, 9 times negative 10 gives you negative 90. In the middle is 2, so what multiplies to 90 and adds up to 2? Okay, let's check them. 1 and 90, 2 and 45, 3 and 30. 4 doesn't work. No, 4 does work, doesn't it? 4 goes in 20. Just, my brain isn't working. Okay, just kidding. 5 works. 18 times. 6. 15. 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay. Do any of those add up to 2 or subtract to 2? The answer is no. Here's what that means, okay? If you have done all of the math, all of the checking, and it doesn't work, then it cannot be factored. Now, this is not common, so don't go around on your homework paper writing cannot be factored on all of them, okay? Obviously, that's not going to be the case. But I do want you to be aware that it is a possibility. So if it absolutely, you can't find anything, you can write cannot be factored, but make sure you've actually checked the pairs, because if you just can't think of something, maybe you just haven't checked everything. All right, number 4, let's see, 24x squared plus 148x plus 140. And you might be thinking, those are huge numbers. They are, but what's your first step? Common factor. So let's do that first. So everything divides by 4. Use a calculator if you need to. Okay, so this 4 is just going to come down and be part of our answer. From there, I'm going to look at these. I'm going to multiply the outer numbers, so the 6 and the 35. So 6 times 35 is 210. And 37 goes here. And again, you might be thinking, whoa, that's super huge, Miss Branham. I don't have a clue, 210. Well, it's not too bad, because if we take away this 0, think of it as 21. What numbers multiply to 21? Well, 3 and 7. And we see here we've got 37. So this must be 30 and 7. Okay? But again, that's having sort of that math knowledge where you see the 21 as being 7 times 3 right away. So do your flashcards if you need to. Okay? Alright, so this 6x squared is going to stay the way it is. In the middle, I'm going to split it into 30x and 7x plus 35. And then I'm ready to factor by grouping. Okay? So here, what do they have in common? 6 and x. You're left with x plus 5. These two have 7 in common. You're left with x plus 5. So the final answer, which I'll just come down here because I gave myself one too many spaces, we're going to have x plus 5 because they match, and then 6x plus 7. And this is your final answer with the 4 as well. Okay? Alright, so this is sometimes called split the middle term because we're splitting that middle term into two parts. So if you do need additional examples, you can always look on YouTube, split the middle term. You can look for factoring trinomials. There are some alternative ways. It's possible your Algebra 2 teacher, if you went to a different school than Humphreys, might have showed you some other methods, and those are fine to use as long as we all get the same answer at the end. Okay?